We are absolutely so early. We are just at the beginning stages of watching this absolute behemoth we call Palantir Technologies grow. And it's growing right before our eyes. I am super excited that I have an opportunity of a lifetime, in my personal opinion, to invest in such a massive, massive opportunity. This for me literally is a Microsoft, a Google, an Amazon, an Apple, a Tesla, so on and so forth. We are getting in at the ground floor. Recently, Space Force just announced a ridiculously large $900 million contract. $900 million contract, which I expect is going to be over $1 billion in the future because we keep expanding on certain contracts. This $900 million contract will be awarded over the next 5 years to a total of 18 different companies. Palantir, of course, is one of those companies. So at face value, Palantir being one of 18 companies is right around 5.5% of this massive, massive contract, which is roughly around $50 million. This is huge in and of itself, being $10 million a year. However, I do believe that Palantir's share of this massive $900 million contract is going to be more like 30 to 50% of the total contract. The reason why I believe it's going to be more like 30 to 50% of the total $900 million contract is quite simple. Palantir is literally the footing, foundation, and guts of this entire program. In a minute, I'm going to go over to my desk to show you some backlogs, to show you some old contracts, to actually read you these publications. But think about it. Palantir started working with Space Force back in 2020, literally building the entire platform for all of its data harnessing. When you build a platform for data harnessing, as we see time and time and time again with Palantir, they actually maintain that data platform. It's literally happening right now for the NHS contract. Think about it. The NHS is already using Palantir's technology. The NHS is already using the data platform that Palantir built for them. Now, there is a federated data system that is currently being built that we assume Palantir is going to get, but the NHS literally wrote, whoever's going to get this contract is going to need to use Palantir's foundation, Palantir's data foundation, Palantir's system that they built for the NHS. And Space Force's contract is no different. Whoever is going to be working with Space Force is going to be integrating whatever part they're doing onto the platform of Palantir, which means Palantir is going to get a lion's share of this contract because Palantir is going to need to maintain, upgrade, and service the existing system. Not to mention, Palantir is probably going to be upgrading the system and upgrading their own offerings to Space Force. Because of everything that I just said, I believe that Palantir is going to keep growing as not only Space Force grows, but also the military. Right now, we are in a war, a proxy war, a data war, a technology war, whatever you want to call it. And this war is not going to stop anytime soon. You have the US and their allies, you have China, and then you have Russia. And I do separate China and Russia for various different reasons. And all of these countries right now are going to be fighting a technology war, with data being the new ammunition, which makes Palantir a nuclear motherfucking bomb, as I said many times before. Space Force is a complete different domain, or Space Force is actually looking over a completely different domain, the space domain. And it's going to be vital to be able to use Meta Constellation, which is Palantir's proprietary technology where they take a bunch of private satellites and they allow you to use them for your personal needs, including government needs. I think Palantir is going to be at the forefront of this proxy war, at the forefront of this data war, and at the forefront of making us a lot of money. Of course, everything I say is not financial advice, purely entertainment and education, but I do not see in any way, shape, or form that Palantir is not going to prosper greatly for what's about to happen in this war. And make no mistake about it, this war is not going to be fought with AK-47s or M16s or even air superiority. This war is most certainly going to be fought with data. Where to be, where not to be, the best positions, the worst positions, the most efficiency, and how to sabotage your enemy to make them less efficient. And Palantir is most certainly not the only game in town, but it is surely the most superior game in town. And if we want to keep that superiority, we're going to have to keep using Palantir and allow other companies to build on top of Palantir. And no, I am not being overdramatic in my own personal opinion, and I do believe that Palantir is going to prosper as well as Palantir shareholders. And at $8.50 a share, I believe it is a far cry. It is absolutely comical and laughable because Palantir is so absolutely gangster. And don't forget that Palantir's clients are only around 15% of the top 1,000 corporations. Let that sink in. As government, both military and non-military, both domestically and abroad, is going to grow, so is commercial use cases, both domestically and abroad. Palantir is a freaking monster. Let's go over to my desk right now and let me show you some old publications when it comes to Space Force, so maybe you guys can put all the numbers together and understand how absolutely unbelievably massive this is going to be. This is the first contract that I could find for Palantir with Space Force. This goes back to 2020, April 2020. Palantir goes to space, inking first deal with Space Force. Big data company Palantir scored its first contract with the Space Force to deliver data crunching in space. You know, when they first got this contract, everybody probably laughed, but nobody's laughing anymore. Through the contract, a one-year, $10 million contract, Palantir will prototype a data backbone for building a common operating picture of space, according to the company. The Space Force will use the company's Foundry suite to better understand what is orbiting in Earth, be it satellites, space debris, or incoming hostile projects. And I quote, Palantir will take the data and convert it into knowledge, said Jennifer Krolaski, COL, Colonel, I think, Colonial Colonel. I don't know. My military people, my man Cheeps is definitely going to correct me on that. Head of Space Command and Control Mobilization. So that is the first time we heard of Space Force working with Palantir. A good $10 million contract back in 2020. So if they got a contract in 2020 for $10 million, I don't understand how Palantir can get another only $10 million a year for a total of around $50 million for their fair share of that $900 million contract. It's not going to happen. All the data that they have for Space Force, all the data that they're analyzing, all the data they're going to weaponize or use for defense purposes is all built using Palantir Foundry, right? Palantir got them, so on and so forth. And this is why I'm thinking that Palantir is going to get a lion's share of approximately 30 to 50% of this massive $900 million contract. This is in April 2021, around a year after that initial contract. SMC awards a $32.5 million contract to Palantir Technologies for data as a service. The sole award provides a data as a service platform and coverage to three separate mission areas: Space C2, NORAD Northcom, and Project Brown Heron, using the same tech stack called Warp Core. It supports the Project Brown Heron effort under the U.S. Air Force by providing a common data foundation that improves readiness information, which is a critical component of the DAF-wide COVID-19 analysis and decision-making effort. And I quote, mastering the data environment is more critical now than ever, and it's only going to grow more important. The key word is more critical now than ever, and it's only going to grow more important. And fast forward today, 3 years later, it grew more. And fast forward today, 2 years later, it definitely grew more important. And that's why their budget is now $900 million. Tomorrow's war will be won or lost based on our ability to dominate future decision cycles. And that all starts with data, said Air Force Vice Chief of Staff General David Alvin. Then if you fast forward right here, this is in December 2nd, 2021. Palantir secures an additional $43 million contract from Space System Commands. Palantir Technology announced today the Space System Command's cross-mission ground and communication enterprise awarded a $43 million contract. This $43 million contract is an additional extension expanding upon previous awards from April and August this year. The total cumulative face value of this contract is $91.5 million. Palantir starts small and keeps expanding. It starts with one, let's say, department and expands on that with other departments. Palantir is an absolute beast and an absolute monster. Now, I am connecting the dots for you, but I am most certainly missing some of the dots, so please bear with me. But you can see the trail over here. Start small, expand, 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 and every expansion that is done, Palantir is at the forefront of it. Every company that works with Space Force or these several different domains, all are using Palantir's backbone. The footing and foundation, the guts of all of these systems is Palantir Foundry or Palantir Gotham. Definitely Palantir Technologies as a whole. Fast forward to June 2022, Palantir expands partnership with US Space Command. Palantir was awarded a $53.9 million increase on May 2022 to its 2021 award of $121 million. This increases the total to $175 million. Remember, these contracts are not just specifically only Space Force, although some of them are exclusive to Space Force. It also is a multi-domain contract between Space Force, Air Force, and some other department in the US government. It does get very, very convoluted. This contract modification continues Palantir's data as a service platform capabilities, which allow mission areas within the Air Force, Space Force, and NORAD NORTHCOM to integrate, clean, share, and leverage data to help make decisions on personnel management, strategic and operational planning, cross-space situational awareness, and collaboration across combatant commands. The extension includes capabilities for decisions to support tooling for echelon planning and continuity of leadership operations. I want to just make this very, very clear. This $53 million contract was awarded for 1 year. This contract is until March 2023. Guess what? March is now over, and now you need a new contract. And guess where this $53 million extension is going to come from? It's going to come from this $900 million contract. So in my personal opinion, Palantir is going to be getting a similar contract every single year. Now that contract might go up, that contract might go down, but let's just assume it is $50 million a year. That's $250 million off of this massive $900 million contract. You understand what I'm trying to say? Palantir is going to be a lion's share of this $900 million because Palantir is the janitor, let's say, right? Or the repairman of the entire system that they are using. Therefore, Palantir needs to keep maintaining the system. But what's happening now is simple. Palantir started small, they built out this massive system, and now the US military, Space Force, Air Force, so on and so forth, are able to implement more tools, are able to utilize the system better, but Palantir is at the forefront of this system, make no mistake about it. And that's why Palantir is going to get a shit ton of 30 to 50%, in my personal opinion, rough estimate, $900 million contract. And this is the actual publication. Space Force selects 18 vendors to provide space data analytics and software services. These vendors will compete for $900 million in task orders over 5 years. The very interesting part over here is they're going to mention all of these different vendors, but look at the love that they give to Palantir. The Space System Command announced March 24th, it has selected 18 vendors to provide data analytics and software services to help decision makers analyze information about the space domain. The companies are Agile Consulting, August Scholl, so on and so forth, C3AI, and all the way at the bottom, they're going to have Palantir right here, Palantir. But this is where it gets interesting. While all of them were mentioned as one of the 18 vendors, Palantir is going to be showcased. These vendors will compete for a $900 million worth of task orders under the indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract over the next 5 years. The IDIQ is a flexible type of contract that does not require the government to list the exact quantities of the product or services it needs to allow agencies to adjust their requirements over the life of the contract. Keywords. Agencies to adjust their requirements over the life of the contract. And this is why I believe this $900 million contract is actually going to go way above $1 billion at the end of this 5 years. It's going to keep expanding on what they're building right now, just like they keep expanding on what Palantir has started to build. Now, that expansion is not going to be just Palantir. It's going to be many of the 18 vendors. But again, Palantir will get the lion's share, in my personal opinion. The IDIQ contract is in support of Space C2 Command and Control. You're going to know what that is in just a moment. Program that the U.S. Air Force started in 2018 to integrate and analyze space domain awareness data from multiple sources for more accurate and faster monitoring of outer space. This is where it gets really cool. Faster analytics. The Space System Command Space C2 office for the past 2 years has been working to transition data stovepipes into a commercial data analytics platform developed by Palantir. So all these vendors are just mentioned, but Palantir is showcased like, hey, we're going to keep building literally on top of this program, this platform that Palantir built us over the last 2 years. You understand why I think Palantir is going to get 30 to 50% of this massive $900 million contract? For sheer maintenance alone, on top of that, to build more capabilities of the existing platform. I think they're going to build more capabilities on the existing platform, and some of these 18 vendors are going to allow or be able to integrate because of the tools that are currently being built. But again, the guts, the footing foundations is Palantir, and they're going to maintain this system. That's why they're going to get a shit ton of money. Now, I understand that the haters who call Palantir a meme are going to laugh at this. And I know that this is not as advanced as the meme Bed Bath & Beyond selling lotions. And it's approximately equivalent to going into an Eden diner at AMC, which is also a meme stock. And it's hard for me to argue that, right? It's hard for me to argue that Palantir is not a meme stock when Bed Bath & Beyond is selling dope-ass lotions, 3 for $10, and AMC is having a 2-for-1 special matinee movie style. It's hard for me to argue that when Palantir is doing bullshit work like protecting us and analyzing data the size of my fist in outer space. It's hard. Like, I understand the arguments of the haters, and in this case, Palantir has to take a loss, right? Palantir is doing equivalent of selling soap bars in Bed Bath & Beyond. I get it. Definitely are a meme stock. I mean, protecting us in outer space and analyzing data in near real time in outer freaking space. What a small feat that any company can do, right? Any company can do this. Any company can use satellites from private companies and actually take it and analyze raw data into usable real-time data that gives you a single point of truth to actually do what you need to do. At the end of the day, you haters can suck it not once, not twice, but 3 times, because Palantir is the best, in my personal opinion. What a massive opportunity. Now, I'm not just talking out of my ass. I'm not just, giving you some bullshit numbers. I am connecting the dots for you. And as you can see, Palantir starts small, and they keep expanding their contracts. Palantir starts here, then they become here, right? Palantir is a freaking monster. I am so glad that I was able to invest in it. I am still DCAing into it. My son personally owns shares of Palantir. When my newborn is going to be born next month, I am going to buy my baby girl some shares of Palantir as well. And we'll see who's going to be laughing at the end. But one thing is for certain, make sure you keep it clean in between because hygiene is very important. You all know I'm really bullish when it comes to Palantir, but I am also ridiculously bullish when it comes to HIM's stock. This is my second most bullish position. If you guys want to know about something besides for Palantir, please click on this video. Have a great day.